Hello from the MSC Grandiosa. I'm Morgan from the very unofficial travel guides, and I am starting something brand new, and that is, I guess you could call it a podcast video. I only very recently discovered the value of having something like a podcast or a video where visually nothing really happens, so you can have it going sort of in the background while you're doing something else, like cooking or getting ready for bed or getting ready in the morning or driving in the car. A lot of times, creators that I like to watch, I miss some of their stuff just because I might be busy and I don't see what they've done until much later, because I think, okay, before I have the time to really sit down and watch this for 15 or 20 minutes, some time has gone by. So there are other creators that occasionally post on YouTube, basically podcasts. And, perfect example is Trixie and Katya with their Bald and the Beautiful videos or podcast. It's just one picture and then you hear them talking the whole time. And I love to have that on for during all those situations that I just described. And we're here on the Grandiosa. It's our first night. We're getting ready for bed. We have had 2 Mai Tais. I am just finishing my second Mai Tai. Marcus is in the bathroom right now brushing his teeth, and instead of a late night cocktail cam where I have to hold the camera and show you what's going on, I figured this would be the very first of these kind of podcast style videos or video style podcasts. I don't know. Let me take a sip and then we will continue with my first day in the MSC Yacht Club on the Grandiosa. All right, you might be able to hear Marcus's electronic toothbrush in the background right now, but this is our life here on the ship. As I said, it is shortly before midnight on our first night on the cruise. We boarded the ship today in Genoa, which is a city in Italy. We got to Italy actually yesterday, and in order to get into Italy, we needed to have a negative corona test, either a PCR or an antigen. I hope I'm saying that right in English. It's a little bit different. The language is a little bit different for me. But we needed to have proof within the last 48 hours that we were not infected with the coronavirus. In order to get into Italy, we also had to have a sort of like a health visa, which is an online form that you have to fill out. This is something that I messed up on one of my first trips out of Germany after the whole fiasco, the whole pandemic began. I did it right this time. We arrived in Italy yesterday, like I said. We flew into Genoa. We took a bus to the train station and took then a train from the airport train station into the main station. That all took us about an hour. We wanted to take a bus directly from the airport to the main station, but that bus at the moment is not running, so we had to change our plans. But it all worked out fine, and I appreciated that I have done a lot of traveling in Europe, because that really helped it helped figure out how to do it. I think if this had been my first trip to Italy ever, I would have been pretty confused and very worried that I was getting on the wrong train or going the wrong direction. The hotel we stayed at was right by one of the 2 main stations in Genoa. The station that we stayed close by is called the Principe, and the hotel is the Grand Savoia Hotel. And if you are planning a cruise from Genoa or planning any trip to Genoa, I definitely can recommend this hotel. Not only because it's very close to the main station, and to be honest, a lot of times hotels that are close to main stations or anywhere in Europe, the area around main train stations is usually not the nicest area of the city. But it's kind of an exception in Genoa. I wouldn't say it's the nicest area that we saw, but it's definitely not as scary as many other train station areas in Europe are. And The hotel was quite fancy in like an old school kind of way, like a Disney Hollywood Studios Tower of Terror kind of way. There were many things about it that reminded us of that. One really fantastic thing about it is it has a rooftop restaurant and a rooftop terrace with two. You might have just heard the toilet flushing there. Excuse me. Like I said, we're getting ready for bed. So the rooftop terrace where we had dinner, we also had a drink up there. We also had a bottle of wine on our balcony overlooking the harbor, overlooking the MSC Seaside, which departed the day before today, so yesterday. And I can definitely recommend it. So if you're planning any kind of trip where you will be in Geneva for a cruise or just for whatever, and you want to know more about it, let me know. Hit me up in the comments below or send me a private message. So this morning, we had breakfast at the hotel, which was included in the price of our hotel, and it was a big buffet. And we walked, just a couple blocks with our suitcases to the port and checked in for the cruise. Now, most of you know who will be listening to this or watching this, if you're watching the picture on the television, that this is my first time ever as a passenger in the Yacht Club. It is neither Marcus or my's first time in any kind of suite situation, because on the TUI Mein Schiff 1 or 2 back in, I think, September, Marcus is giving me the sign for 1. We stayed in that gigantic suite, and with a suite in the Yacht Club or like on the Mein Schiff, you get access to special privileges that you don't get other places on the ship or in other cabin categories. And I'm realizing more and more, and many people told me this before we booked this cabin, that the MSC Yacht Club is not just about the cabin itself. Like I said, I made a video a couple weeks ago where I talked about what we were considering when we booked this cabin, or when we booked this cruise, before we decided to upgrade to the Yacht Club, because Yacht Club was something that we originally considered. And so many people said the Yacht Club is not about the cabin, it's about all the extras that you get. And yeah, even after not even 24 hours in the Yacht Club, I've realized, this is really what it's about. It's not about the cabin. It's about all the other stuff you get. When we got to the cruise terminal, we first of all had to leave our bags. And the place that you leave your bags in Genoa here, it's like underneath an overpass. It's really not a very nice place to be, but that is where the people who, like everybody in a standard cabin category, leaves their bags. And then there was a small, like, pop-up tent for Yacht Club members. So we left our bags there, and then we were escorted by a member of the crew directly into the building for check-in. The first thing that happened was just to sort of confirm our identity, and then we also had to show our corona test that we needed to get into Italy. We also had to undergo another corona test in the terminal. So every passenger on the ship has been tested for corona before they board the ship. They did a swab of our nose, just one side. It was quite uncomfortable. This woman was not necessarily the gentlest that I've experienced. And then we were once again escorted to a quite swanky lounge where somebody came by, I would say like every 5 minutes or so, offering us some kind of snack. It was crackers, it was Pringles, it was chips, it was chocolate-covered granola, it was... what else did they offer us? Many different things. Nuts. Marcus says nuts. Oh yeah, they offered us little cans of nuts. Also, different drinks, orange juice, fruit juice, water. They didn't offer us, I was surprised, we were not offered like a glass of champagne or anything like that in the terminal while we were waiting for our results to be processed. But in that time, while we were waiting, we continued the check-in process where we went to a counter, and it was just Marcus and I, so it wasn't like a long counter with many people. It was just Marcus and I, and then like a check-in crew member who went through our documents and gave us a little bit more information about the yacht club, took our picture for our SeaPass card, and that is where we got our bracelets, which is a double function on board. For one, it's the same thing as, like your SeaPass card or your cruise card. So you use that bracelet to pay for anything, to open the door. Yeah, and anything you would use basically your room key for is what you use this for, or like a magic band. I guess, yeah, it's very much like a magic band. A little bit less pretty and less customizable, but it is very much like a magic band. And also took our picture. I think I just mentioned that. And we do also have a cruise card, which is needed in certain situations, such as we need it to turn on the electricity in the room so we can turn on the lights. Marcus just turned off the light. You might have heard that in the background. And what other time did we have to show our cruise card? There was something specific we had to show it for, but I don't remember. Maybe it was the safety drill? Well, you know what? Let me skip to the safety drill, because once we were on board, we were given a short tour of the yacht club, offered a drink of champagne or fruit juice, and taken directly to our cabin. And our check-in time was 10 in the morning. So we got on the ship really early, and our cabin was ready really quickly in the morning. And much later in the afternoon, they made an announcement that anybody in like a standard cabin category could check into their cabin. So we got really lucky with that. And I don't know if that's necessarily purely because we're in the yacht club, or if it's because the yacht club was not very fully booked, and that's why our cabin might have been ready so early. But we got into our cabin probably like at 11:30 in the morning, which is unheard of. When when have you ever checked into a cruise and been in your cabin before noon? I don't think that's ever... I'm positive that situation has never happened to me. Our baggage showed up a little bit later, and I know one thing that I talked about in a recent video was that the butler in the yacht club, it is part of the services they provide to unpack your bag or to pack up your dirty clothes at the end. And it was something I was considering or not considering, and we did not have her. Our butler is a woman. Her name is Carmilla. We did not have her unpack our bags because... they showed up and she wasn't here, and I definitely wasn't going to call her and say, hey, can you come and unpack our bags, please? I thought, if they showed up when we weren't here and she happened to unpack it, then that would be fine. But I didn't want to call her and ask her to unpack it. I'm going to tell you what happened next after another short commercial break, and I take another sip of my Mai Tai. So, did you get one? What was it about? Write it in the comments below. At 5 in the afternoon, we had a mandatory safety drill, which was much different than even other ones I've had since I've started cruising again. But you might be wondering, before that, we did go to lunch, and there are a couple different options here in the yacht club. There's like an indoor bar in the yacht club, and at the entrance to the indoor bar, they always have a little display of snacks available. So I'm talking like finger food, but fancy finger food, like mozzarella balls with sun-dried tomatoes marinated in truffle oil, or arancini balls, which is like deep-fried battered rice balls, or tiny little cones filled with avocado cream or hummus, things like that, in a cone. I didn't even think of that until right now. So that's one place that in the yacht club you can always eat. Also, there is room service. I think either 24 hours or at least until midnight. And it's not just normal food, but they also have pizza. And that's definitely until midnight. I remember the butler telling us that. That's one of the options. There is a small buffet type situation up by the Yacht Club pool. And then there's also the Yacht Club restaurant. And we went walking around the ship just in the meantime, and we ended up in the main buffet. And so we had a little bit to eat in the main buffet, then we walked around the ship a little bit more, and then we came back here to the Yacht Club and had a little bit of finger food in the Yacht Club. After that was the safety drill, the muster drill, and instead of the entire ship shutting down, the people who boarded the ship today, and on MSC, there are people boarding the ship and disembarking the ship in every port. People who boarded the ship today were simply required to watch a safety video on the television, and everybody did it at the same time. And at the end of the safety video, there's a code that you have to dial into your telephone to confirm that you watched it. And the only other thing you have to do is, so we did still have to leave the cabin then and go check in at our station. And that was it. And it was over really quick. And I hope that this is the way that it will always be, because it was so much easier. In the afternoon, we spent a lot of time walking around the ship and unpacking our bags. Like I said, we sailed away around 6 in the evening and had a glass of wine in the Yacht Club, and it was a really excellent wine. And then it was dinner time, I think, is about the next thing that we did. And we decided to go to dinner in the Yacht Club restaurant. We had to make a reservation in the afternoon with our butler, and we went there around 8 o'clock. Before that, we did manage to get a little bit of time in the casino. One thing that Marcus was really looking forward to, the Grandiosa has I would say a mid-sized casino, so definitely not as big as like Harmony of the Seas or Norwegian Epic, but much, much bigger than than Aida, Perla, or any of the Mein Schiff ships. So we spent a little time in the casino. Then we had dinner in the main Yacht Club restaurant, and the service was very good. It's still kind of close to the experience in the main dining room that Marcus and I don't prefer, which is, a lot of people hovering around the table, constantly offering bread, constantly offering water. But it seemed like they might have gotten kind of the hint that we're not really into that. So Marcus had as an appetizer some kind of duck pate, and for his main course, a tuna fish steak, and was very happy with that. I had as an appetizer a vegetarian ceviche, which was out of like avocado and tomato and palm hearts, and that was okay. And then I had a really, really great vegetarian risotto as my main course, and we decided to skip dessert, and we had planned to come back to the main, or like the lounge here in the Yacht Club, to have a snack and dessert later, and we just never really got around to it. Or we did come back here to the lounge actually, but then we decided not to have anything else to eat this evening. And the only other like major thing I would say we did tonight was we went to the theater to see one of the shows called Rocket. And the shows on MSC have gotten so much better since our first cruise, but both Marcus and I agreed at the end that this show was really not, definitely not at the level of Royal Caribbean or NCL. Like, definitely not. Talented people on stage, I would say, doing close to the best they could. There definitely were some people who were not giving their all on stage, but just all together, the people producing these shows, I think, should take a little more inspiration from what's popular at the moment, from what other cruise lines are producing that makes their guests happy, and just at popular culture altogether to see, okay, what can we offer our guests that is modern and entertaining and fits at a current time. I don't know. I'm trying to be nice about it. I hope that comes across. After the show, we went to the casino again for just a short time. We came back up here to the Yacht Club. We grabbed another drink, and actually, because we ordered it from the bar, and I just wanted to get it from the bar and then carry it back to our cabin. But when the waiter told us, well, why don't you go sit down? And we said, well, actually, we want to drink it in our cabin. He said, well, then go to your cabin and I'll bring it there. And that's what happened. And now we're here. And that was our first day here in the Yacht Club and the Grandiosa. And that was my first podcast style video. So let me know what you think of all this. And there will definitely be more of these coming. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what happened just about every day here on board. So make sure you tune back in for these. And I'm excited to be a part of your life now instead of you watching me, to have you on in the background while you're cooking, while you're getting ready for bed, while you're waking up in the morning, maybe while you're doing work, housework, driving in the car, whatever else you're doing. Let me know what you think, and I will be talking to you again soon. Bye-bye.